Depending on the nature of your document, you may want to put your document into columns. If I want to put perhaps this entire document into columns, I'll simply click on page 2 with nothing selected, simply my cursor positioned on page 2. I'll then go to Layout in the ribbon and I'll choose the Columns button and I'll choose 2 columns. Immediately the entire document is turned into 2 columns, much like a newspaper. Because I had nothing selected, it did it to the entire document. Now I think with columns, what's a really good idea is to apply the justified alignment. So I'm going to press Control A to select all and Control J to justify. And look at the improvement I think occurs as a result with the columns. Nice straight left and right edges. So columns, if I rest on this button, is very much like a newspaper. If I wish to undo the columns and put it back to how it was, I do have the undo button, but imagine a day has passed. I'll click the columns button and I'll simply choose 1 column, which simply puts the document back to 1 column as it was before. So that's how we think of a document. A document by default is in 1 column, but you can change it to 2, 3 or more columns. Now sometimes I only want to apply columns to a certain area. For example, I might want to apply columns to these 4 paragraphs here. I'll select these 4 paragraphs, go to my columns button, but this time I'm going to choose more columns. If I go to more columns, I get more options. Now I want 2 columns and I can either click this button or this button in here and choose 2. I would like to tick this particular checkbox and put a line between the columns, which when I tick this option, you can see that's what the preview is showing me. The spacing is the gap between the 2 columns, and I think this could be reduced to just 1 centimetre. So I'll take this down to 1, which means each of the columns on the right and on the left are now 6.83 centimetres. Now these are equal column widths, and this will only be applied to the selected text, so only these 4 paragraphs will be in 2 columns with a 1 centimetre gap and a line between. So I click OK, and that's exactly what I've got. Now sometimes when you apply columns to text, you may find that they don't break quite where you want them to break. For example, I might decide that this text here, this particular paragraph, would be better placed over in the next column. Now some people are tempted to press enter several times and push that paragraph into the next column, but that's really not good practice. Good practice is to insert a column break. If you want to insert a column break, you simply go to Breaks and you choose Column Break. If you're after a shortcut key, it's Control-Shift-Enter. If I click in front of No, place my cursor there, go to Layouts, go to Breaks and choose Column Break, I force that paragraph into the next column. And that's exactly what we wanted. Now we need to reveal some of the non-printing characters that are at play here, so you understand what you're working with. If you go to the Home tab in the ribbon, you have what's called a Show Hide button, which is really a pilcrow. That's its proper name of this particular symbol. Now the Show Hide, which is also Control Asterisk, will reveal any sort of non-printing characters or features that are going on. Now what we need to appreciate is when we selected these 4 paragraphs and turned them into 2 columns, we inadvertently created a section break continuous at the beginning of the columns and here at the end of the columns. So that section delimited by 2 section breaks is in 2 columns. And the column break that we just put in is showing here. So if you wanted to delete a column break, you would have to show it, click it and delete it. And so you're back to square one. If I then insert a column break, Control-Shift-Enter, I can see here my column break's gone back in again. So when you create a column break, you can see it if you turn on the Show Hide. That's very important. I'd like to select another couple of paragraphs. So I'm first of all going to insert a page break. Because of the way that my text is so spaced out, you may not have to. I'm going to click in front of 4 ideas and press Control-Enter, which is a page break. I'm then going to select these 2 paragraphs here. I'm then going to go to Layout and to Columns and More Columns, and I'll choose 2 columns with a line between and a 1 centimetre gap, and OK. and it's immediately broken this into 2 columns. It's broken that perfectly, so there's no need for me to put a column break, but if you needed a column break, you know that you can press Control Shift Enter, or you can go to breaks and choose a column break.